Merry Meet Annie here. We are exploring something in Season of the Dedicant that I wanted to bring a bit of it to my viewers here on YouTube. And the reason is I very often get questions on folks who are looking to find matrons or patrons or discover what gods of the circle are going to serve their needs, or even to find out what gods are calling out to them. And I always say research. Allow yourself to be the most curious of people and read and look at websites and books and scholarly articles. Read, because something is going to leap off those pages for you. The desire we have to reach out to find a matron or a patron or gods for our circles or any other relationship with that greater mystery. That desire we have when we open ourselves to possibility of what that might be. Something is going to recognize us and respond. Maybe not in the exact timing we'd like it to be, but there's an energy of putting out. An energy that kind of says, I'm paying attention now. Do you have anything you want to say to me? And then you find out what myths, what stories, maybe in what cultures are speaking to you. So we're talking about finding certain deities to work with in Season of the Dedicant, and we'll continue exploring that going forward. And I put together there a checklist that is the result of my thoughts over the years and also thoughts in my circles and other with previous dedicants about the process we might follow when we are researching. Setting up your research on a particular deity is kind of like setting up correspondences for the elements or any other set of correspondences that you collect. Having a checklist of the kinds of things to look at when you research each individual god, kind of means, number one, you can see which ones have the most intriguing set of correspondences for you. Maybe you'll spend more time with them. It also gives you a basis to see what the commonality and the thread is between the deities that seem to be whispering your name. So this is a checklist. Now, if you would like to see it in writing and don't want to listen to the rest of this video, the document will be attached to my Patreon posting of this video in the public and free section of Patreon. So here's my checklist and an invitation. What would you add to the checklist? It'd be wonderful to grow it, and if we grow it, I will addend your changes, additions to it, and I'll share it. So, checklists for exploring deity and its possibility. Of course, we're talking about you have a particular deity in mind, and now what do you do? Well, you start out, as far as I'm concerned, understanding where and when was their earliest worship. Earliest being the most important part of that. What was the land like where they were worshipped? What was the culture or the society of the people who worshipped them? What were the specifics and how they were worshipped and honored? What were their various names and epithets? Most of the ancient deities have long lists of epithets. And the wonderful thing about that is you can explore so many aspects of who they were and what they meant to the people of their time by their naming. What celebrations were performed in their honor and at what time of the year? How did they change over time? Almost always they do. Not usually for the better. They become such a reflection of the politics of later centuries that they almost start being watered down, and they start being, well, used for purposes of politics and human shenanigans. What remnants of their worship still exist? How are they related to other deities in their pantheon? What similarities do they have to gods you are already familiar with? What are their symbols? What elements are they associated with? What seasons? What plants? What animals? What planets? What colors? What stones? What food? Were there any traditional incenses made in their honor? Is there a particular day or time of day that's auspicious for them? When would you call on them? Collect images and artwork. And I think the most wonderful thing when it comes to research of the gods is collecting the historical images, whether it's reliefs or statues, etchings, carvings, whatever. And also look for contemporary versions of artwork. Sometimes you'll find a contemporary version that just speaks to you powerfully and emotionally. And the same things for poems, prayers, invocations, and hymns. Contemporary and historical are both worth collecting. Collect examples of their mythology, the stories that are told about them to determine the inherent wisdom within their stories. Explore books and websites of those who honor the deity in a contemporary sense. You might get a sense of passion and emotion there. You might also get some pretty good references to historical and scholarly articles and books on the deity you're looking at. What seems timeless about their story? If you were to create them in a modern image, what would it be? What would they look like? What calls to you the most about them? How might you honor them in your own way, and what time of year or day? What kind of ritual would you include them in? And what singular words would you use to describe them? And that is one way I build my relationship with the deities that I explore. As I'm reading and looking at artwork and being inspired by they make me feel or what has been said about them, I jot down all those singular words. No more than a jotting down of the words, a collecting of all of them. What of them do you see in yourself? And what of them would you like to be more like? And keep an ongoing notes page. Even when a deity feels like it's become familiar, in order to see how it evolves over time in your personal relationship to it. And perhaps two of the most important things to consider. What does this deity teach me about mystery? And what does this deity teach me about being human? Sometimes in that last exploration, we find out where their tenderness and vulnerability lies. Sometimes that is what creates a resonance between us. So there's my checklist for researching deity. And please jot down in the comments what other correspondences or checklist items would you add to that. It'd be wonderful to make it even longer of a list and share it with everyone. I wish you all mirth and reverence. Merry part.